the person that's complaining need to be accountable. And I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he noticed. He, I don't know the whole story, but I know that one is trying. And I mean, 11 could be a little better with how he responds to things. And they was friends before this. It's like, man, but things have changed. And I understand that because life happens. But it's the business side that we have to make sure that we don't let the personal get in the way of the business. It's like a lot of stuff, most of the time, it's just a conversation that just need to be had. But the person with the problem got to want to talk to the person other than others.
Just airing it all out. Wow. Here's what Graham said to ESPN's Tim McManus after those comments were made. I made a mistake, and I assumed that it was something that it wasn't. I just want to win so bad that I don't just want to use the media when we need to talk about something that we can fix the problem ourselves. I didn't add to it in a good light, so that's my bad. Oh, Shannon, so much came out of that. They used to be friends, blah, 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 etc. Tell me this. Was it fair or foul for Brandon to share all this?
Well, I thought it was, Molly, we addressed this yesterday, and D.O. disagreed with me, but I thought it was foul that A.J. said what he said, because when you say what we need to fix is passing, there's only one guy that throws the ball. That's right. The quarterback. So people are going to automatically assume you're taking a shot at the quarterback. I believe that you could have handled this. You could go behind closed doors. I've always been like this. I'm not going to show the quarterback up. He's not going to show me up. If I got a problem with you, you have a problem with me. I think as adults, as men, we can get into a room and we can handle it behind closed doors. Amen. There don't need to be a shouting match on the sideline. There don't need to be something that needs to be addressed in the media. Now, Brandon Graham, he has, now I don't know how much is in the locker room since he's gotten that injury, but I thought he was speaking from a point of, like, I'm in the locker room and I see things. Now, should he have said what he said? Absolutely not, because he poured gasoline already on a 5-alarm fire. He made it worse than it absolutely was. I don't know why he would ever expand on what was said on Sunday. There was no need to, because the situation was already pretty bad. Now he just made it worse. And I understand that he wants to go back and try to clean it up. But Stephen A., I say this all the time in the courtroom. A lawyer might say something, and the opposing attorney says, I object. And the judge will say sustain. But how do I make the jury unhear what they heard?
That's right.
How does he make the fans in Philly, how does he make everybody around the world unhear what Brandon Graham said? He doesn't. It can't. And being in the locker room with a common goal, I like to think we have a common goal, we can figure this out. Tell me what I need, Jalen. Jalen, tell me what you need from me. I'm going to tell you what I need from you, and we're going to figure this out. Because what happens, Stephen A., Saturday, and you know this, when we win a ball game and you start to complain, people will label you as selfish because they say, oh, you want your stat. We won the game. I thought the most important thing was to win, and it is. And so it's hard to complain when you win. Had they lost the game, you know what? A.J. Brown says, hey, we got to get better in the passing game. I've got to do a better job of getting open. Devontae got to do a better job of getting.
We're just going to improve our passing game a little bit. I got to be better. Hurts has got to be better. We're going to figure this thing out for the long haul to go win some playoff games and go to our ultimate goal to win the Super Bowl. I'm fine with all that. When you're cryptic and say passing and then kind of a smirk, passing, full on that is going to start an issue in your locker room. It has now become a distraction. And now it's not just his comments. Now we got Brandon Graham's comments. So what do you think the Eagles are going to deal with the entirety of this week going into a massive game with the Pittsburgh Steelers? What's going on in your locker room? Is this going to be another implosion like last year? Can you guys hold it together? Nick Sirianni, what can you do to fix this? What can you do, A.J. Brown? What can you do, Hurts? How does this make you feel as a quarterback after winning 9 games in a row? All this stuff is distractions. And if there's one thing, Shannon, you know and I know, as the season comes to an end, you want to be ascending and you want all of those distractions falling by the wayside. Every team's got warts. We all got issues that got to be improved. Everybody knows that. By God, don't air it in the press. Go win your games, and if you got problems, go back in the locker room and handle them.
Y'all are former football players. I am not. You don't have to be a professional athlete to know what being a great teammate is all about. So I'm not here to disagree with anything that y'all say. Obviously, things should be handled internally. There is no argument there. But let me give you something from the media perspective that y'all may not have considered. If you're the media watching this, Brandon Graham is on a radio show.
Right.
Think about what kind of town Philadelphia is.
Yeah.
Think about if you come across as somebody who's timid or less than forthcoming about direct questions that are aimed in your direction and the kind of effect that that can have on you. Now, that may be a bit selfish because that's about you rather than about the team. So you're absolutely right on that part as well. But I think that has to be taken into consideration because when you're on a live mic in front of an audience and they ask you a direct question, if you come across as less than forthcoming or dare I say even a bit phony, that's something that's going to hurt you, all right? Sometimes they think about that. So let's get that Brandon Graham element out the way.
But Stephen, I got to challenge you on one thing on that. When he said they were friends before this, things have changed. You have to be savvier than that because you talk about that more than anyone. That's a personal relationship and a strife you're airing out to the public.
Time out. You can't expect people who are not accustomed to communicating like that to be savvy enough. Many, many times, Shannon, over the years, that's one of the reasons why people revere Shannon so much with what he's doing because of the platform he's doing it on because you don't expect it. You understand? They look at you and they see what you're doing on TV. We see former professional athletes coming on TV. You resonate more because everybody can't do it. They can talk all they want to. When those bright lights come on, I've seen cats that come on TV that sweat more than they did when they were playing.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Because those bright lights get it. You know, every single syllable that comes out of your mouth, everybody's not that savvy. That's all I'm saying about
Just
that.
the nature of
when
a
it comes,
personal relationship.
I understand that, but also it's their personal relationship. And if you Brandon Graham, you're also thinking about winning. And you might be thinking about, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, not really resonating the way you did a couple of years ago when we went to the Super Bowl. Maybe this might be a motivational tool. You could be thinking about that as well. AJ is where we got to get to. Because last year he had 106 receptions. In 10 games this year, Shannon, he's got 48.
Right.
His production has dropped. When your production has dropped. Say what? I'm sorry?
He's been nicked. He's been out. He's been injured.
I know that, but what I'm saying to you is that he knows the kind of relationship he once had with the quarterback.
Yeah.
And so if we can't sit here in the same breath and talk about a wide receiver, specifically them, being the prima donnish kind of individuals that they are, and think that's not going to rear its head once your numbers have dropped off precipitously, because let me tell you something about Philadelphia, and that's a place I'm an expert on. I can promise you this. They ain't just looking at the fact that he was nicked. They're like, yo, man, it ain't the same. It ain't the same. We ain't seeing what we saw before. And so when you think about it I'm talking about what he hears.
Sure.
And how that may have affected him. That plays a role. Again, y'all are absolutely right. You can't excuse the kind of stuff that they're revealing, and you've got to be a better teammate than that. But in the end, they're going like this. What we're doing right now, looking at Detroit, looking at KC, looking at Buffalo, looking at some of these other teams, we're not going to get it done. Even though we're winning games, we're not going to beat those guys when it counts doing what we're doing right now. They might have handled it wrong, and I'm down with y'all with that. But I don't think it was just cats sounding off. I think they're sounding an alarm because they're more concerned about themselves than we realize.
Yeah, Sandy, you're exactly right, because the conversation this week is not going to be a whole lot about Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be about it's about what AJ said and what Brandon Graham said. Stephen A., to your point, and Molly, you appreciate this. Let me tell you what my therapist said one time. I was in therapy, Stephen A., and you know what she told me? She said, Shannon, you can be right sometime and ruin a relationship. So you cannot be timid and ruin your locker room by not being timid. You need to be extremely smart, because there have been a lot of times that I was speaking and I was saying one thing, but that's not what I'm thinking. But I know what would have happened. I would have ripped the very fabric of the locker room apart had I been forthcoming. You have to be smarter than that, because a lot of these guys, Brandon Graham is going to want to be in the media, and a lot of these other guys are going to be in the media, and you're going to have to be